Hi friends, David here from Learn Stage Audio and Above AVL. And today we're going to take a look at how to EQ a mic for a PA system. Let's dive in. So EQing a microphone, any microphone, in a PA system, in a speaker, is going to be different than in a studio setting or in any other sort of closed setting. What we're doing here is we're actually going to listen to a mic through a speaker, through a measurement mic, and I can walk you through at the end of this video some of that routing for those who are interested in that. But the bulk of this video is going to be showing you how to go about EQing a mic for a PA system. So I'm listening in my ears to the measurement mic. So that's like ears in the room. That's listening to the speaker. Now it's not perfect. I'm not going to hear everything perfectly myself because I'm still hearing the low end coming off that speaker. If I had a separate space that I could run wires to and have them in it totally isolated, that would be cool. But we just don't have that right now. And that's okay. So let's take a look. So here I've got this Airwave AT41. It's a good, inexpensive, option that's a little bit different than like a 58. Comes in at a little lower price point, works pretty nice. Budgets are tight, and it's what I happen to have in the studio today. Okay, so we're gonna turn that on here on channel 3, and you should be able to hear it really good, and we're turning off this lav mic, and we're gonna talk all about EQing it. So the first thing, whether you're digital or analog, but mostly on the digital side, though some analog consoles are this way, is you're going to notice by most of the time, all of your channel strips are turned off on most modern consoles by default. Drives me crazy, but it means the processing technically is not doing anything, so it is a cleaner signal path. So you always want to turn that on first. Otherwise, you're just going to be over here changing stuff around. You're going to be like, oh, yeah, that sounds better. And no, it didn't change at all. Okay, so we'll turn on the EQ. And the first thing I'm going to do, of course, we've got a range of mic technique. I'm getting some plosives as we usually get with these mics. And so I'm going to go ahead and dial up the high pass here. Okay. And in this case, I'm just going to go up to, 124 sounds pretty good. Okay. Now, when we're talking about a PA system, there's a couple things that are going to happen potentially that you might have to EQ around. Okay. The first is I'm getting a lot of low mids because I'm fairly close to the PA speaker, but I'm behind it as it would be in most PA circumstances. Okay. So what I want to do there is I want to go ahead and I'm going to take my low mid and I'm going to subtract a little and I'm going to do a pretty wide Q. So let's talk about these controls. Okay, so you have the frequency. That is the actual audio frequency. That is the center of what you're affecting when you move the gain knob. Okay, we've subtracted the gain. Now, a good tip for basic EQ is that if you go ahead and boost something and you hear the part that you don't like, then that's where to cut. So you can often boost first, make it sound worse, then okay, that's the best place to cut it. Also works with feedback. If you're getting feedback, you can boost, move the frequency around. When it starts taking off, hey, that is where if you can't solve the feedback by any other method, that is where you should cut. So we're going to cut there, cut just a little bit more. Then we're still hearing some plosives, so even though we're high passing pretty high, I'm just going to go down to like 100 hertz and kind of beat the snot out of that. What we're hearing, at least in my ears, and again, I know it's not going to translate perfectly, is we got rid of a lot of those plosives, P's. There's still some around, which is why, again, these are a cheaper mic, these U41s. They work great on a budget, but you might want something a little nicer for fancier systems. And then here, what I'm hearing now is, in the mids, I'm feeling good about how it sounds. It sounds clear as far as I can hear in my ears. It sounds pretty good. And then on the highs, I feel like I'm missing a little bit on the highs. So I'm just going to go ahead. In this case, I'm going to hit what's affectionately known as the barbecue fork and start gaining that up. Now, you got to be careful with this because you're going to get a lot of clarity in the high end. In fact, if I turn on the RTA, you'll see the frequencies that are actually responding. You're going to see here that, that's why gain structure matters. We're a little bit low here. So let's just go ahead, actually crank our amp down significantly, crank up our volume, check 1, 2. And so now we can see the frequencies that are responding. We can see how it looks. Now, you never, when you have an RTA like this in a digital mixer, you never want it to be flat with any source, okay? The stuff we're working with in audio, vocals, instruments, whatever, they're going to never be flat. Okay, now certain instruments are going to be hotter in certain ranges or voices, and that's what we see here. For example, the vocal clarity range right here around 2 kilohertz. You want to see some good stuff there because that's usually where you get a lot of your clarity from vocals. But if things get harsh, you can see that is where you can start to cut. And so that's where these tools, man, we didn't have them when I started into consoles, that's for sure. But they can be so helpful because if you get too harsh, that's where you can start to cut, right? And if you get too boomy, too boxy, you're going to cut in the lower end, etc., etc. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little tour looking at just really simply putting a mic through a PA system, EQing it, and showing you what we did to take it from something that sounded like this, really boomy, poppy, plosive-y. I know we're in a small room and we've got some proximity effect just from that speaker sitting on the floor. It's not a perfect test, but taking it and going, hey, live sound is never quite perfect, but we can go ahead and EQ it, get things sounding a lot better, get rid of those plosives, still have clarity, and have a little bit of shine on the top end where we're just, not feeling like we're in a cave. And, that in this circumstance was the EQ you needed. Remember, always use your ears, don't look at the picture, but I hope you enjoyed this brief look at how you can EQ a microphone, how the lower end versus the higher end really can affect things, and how you can get the most out of your audio. So if you're new here, be sure to subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next video. And then when you need audio gear or lighting gear or video gear, head over to Above AVL. We absolutely love to help at aboveavl.com. We'll see you guys there. Thanks.